Good morning. I also would like to start by thanking we.CONECT and Andrea, very persistent. I'm thrilled to hear all of the content today from all of the speakers. I also did take a deep look at the agenda, and there's some amazing topics from my perspective to hear about. And I'd also like to thank all of you for adventuring here to, it was sunny yesterday, but not so sunny today, San Diego. It's a very unique and challenging time for our world, for all of our countries, our communities, certainly our companies, and for each of us as individuals with the situation that's rapidly evolving. So thanks for coming to listen today. Very, very much appreciated. My name is Jeff Blum. I'm a Senior Vice President with KONE, and I'm based here in Southern California. My responsibilities are really for our company's business, everything west of the Mississippi River. So KONE, you may not be familiar with. It's a Helsinki, Finland-based company, global company, and we are in the business of moving people. The purpose of our company is to improve the flow of urban life, and we're dedicated to the flow of people into and out of and through buildings. So to kind of frame up what that means, we're roughly about a $10 billion US organization, global organization. We have 55,000 employees. Roughly 45,000 of those employees are our technicians that go out and install, maintain, modernize, and service elevators, escalators, access control, turnstiles, doors, anything that has to do with the flow of people through buildings. And to maybe put the scale, to use one of Jim's words, in perspective, we maintain roughly 1 million elevators and escalators across the globe, in Europe, North America, and in Asia Pacific. And to put it in terms of people, again, to pull on another thread that Jim brought up, we move every day roughly 1 billion people on the equipment that we service. So roughly 15 to 20% of the world's population is moved on equipment that we're responsible for keeping in safe, sound operating condition. So that's a lot of people that we're moving. We take that endeavor quite serious. It's a serious endeavor. They are all mothers, they're fathers, they're brothers, they're sisters. They are family, and they are humans, and we take that responsibility of moving humans safely quite seriously at our company. So I thought I'd talk today just a little bit about what we see happening in the marketplace and how this convergence of technology is changing our industry as it's changing so many other industries. And I'll really start talking about two megatrends that are impacting not only ours, they're not the only two megatrends, but two megatrends that are impacting the way that we do business. So there's urbanization and then this technological disruption. And I'll start with urbanization. You know, the world has been urbanizing for hundreds of years, and the pace of that urbanization has picked up for sure over the last several decades. So to put it in perspective, these are UN numbers. Roughly 200,000 people a day move into cities, so moving from rural areas to urban areas. So it's a mass migration into cities, and it's wonderful in so many ways, this mega trend, right? Cities are great things. It's great to find places to work. It's gainful employment. It's easier to collaborate. We're closer. We can be closer to loved ones and people that we care about deeply. And so it's also a very efficient way for humans to live on this earth if it's done the right way and it's built sustainably. But urbanization does not come without its challenges. So we know those challenges, all of us that live in cities. There's congestion, there's crowding, there's traffic, there's pollution. So these are problems that we as a society, as a species, need to solve if we want to be able to continue to live on this earth and do it effectively, efficiently, and still have the quality of life that we're all looking for. We're in the real estate business, essentially. We don't own real estate, but we work with contractors, architects, developers, facility managers, public agencies that have real estate. So fundamentally, we're in the real estate business. And urbanization is a great trend for anybody that's in the real estate business. Every time one person moves to a city, They need a place to live, they need a place to work, they need places to eat, they need places to play, they need places to learn, and all of that means buildings. So that's wonderful if you're in the building industry from a megatrend standpoint. But we have a responsibility to do it sustainably because it's not an infinite amount of resources that we have on this earth. So building sustainably built communities and cities is incredibly important for all of us. And we take, again, that responsibility quite seriously at KONE. So there's problems that come with that, and the second megatrend is this technological disruption that we see occurring across many industries, and this technological disruption is going to provide us the opportunity to solve a lot of these challenges that get created as we urbanize more and more as a society. So this confluence of cloud computing, the Internet of Things, big data, the applications of that data, the proliferation of mobile devices, these are all happening individually, but they're really converging together to provide solutions for people, right? How do we live our lives? How do we do it? And so this technological disruption is certainly advancing how we run our business, how we can deliver additional value for the real estate customers that we serve. So these two megatrends combined with our own experience in the real estate business kind of leads us to the conclusion that there's really the main takeaway from today is that the way buildings are being designed, the way that buildings are being built, and the way that buildings are being managed is changing, and it's changing rapidly before our eyes. So I'll talk about three things. One is going to be smart design of buildings. The second will be the smart construction of buildings. And then I'll spend most of my time on the smart management of buildings, smart building management, and some of the things that we're doing in partnership with a whole ecosystem of technology providers and our clients to make sure that they're getting the life cycle value out of those assets that they own. Okay, so first we'll talk about smart design. So the way that architects think, the way that they learn, the way that they work is changing, and it's changing very rapidly. No longer do you see rooms full of draftsmen on tables going through static design of buildings and then multiple iterations, and that whole design process, if you go back in time, took months, if not years, to get designs built. Architects are moving towards using much more complex algorithmic tools that allow them to do thousands of iterations of buildings in real time. They can see the impacts and the amount of data that supports that design and the effectiveness and the efficiency for society of that design is all happening in real time. The way that they communicate is different. Before, if you were to try to provide support to an architect in our industry, you would drive to their office, you'd sit down with them, you'd try to understand what they were going to do with that building, and you would provide them some design information, and then there'd be these back and forth phone calls, and it would take quite a long period of time. Now, a lot of that still happens, but we're on, just in North America, probably over 350 chats each and every week with architects from all over the world that are coming to us for our industry knowledge, our people movement knowledge, and that design information, that collaboration is happening in real time with people in incredibly diverse places. So the way buildings are being designed is changing. The next thing I'll talk about is smart construction. So the evolution of building a building, right? We've been building buildings as humans for thousands of years. And there have been some advances in that technology, as you can imagine, over that period of time. But I don't think anybody involved in the real estate business would claim that the construction industry has been a leader in terms of productivity. It has been a laggard in productivity compared to a vast majority of other industries. So it's complex, it's messy. It's on a piece of land where you're digging a hole and you've got to construct a building, and you need to do it efficiently. And there's just a lot of different parts and pieces and expertise and trades that need to collaborate effectively in order to build a building efficiently. And so it's been a laggard in terms of productivity, and I would say it's ripe for opportunity. And we're beginning to see how buildings are being built utilizing these new technologies is changing rapidly. So 3D Bim modeling has been around for a while, and I'm assuming most of you are familiar with it, but if you're not, it's just every part and piece and component of a building in a three-dimensional model. So as you're doing that design, you can see how your building is going to come together. And that's been a really useful tool here now for a number of years. But if you're in the real estate business, two things matter, your budget and your schedule, right? Can you bring the project in on or below budget, and can you bring that project in on schedule or earlier? So if you look at how private buildings get built, if you're building a 40-story multi-family residential home or tower down here in downtown San Diego, you've got a developer that has bought this land. They've got financing partners, usually big banks, that are loaning them money. And so hitting that budget is important. Even more important is hitting the schedule for the completion of that project. If you imagine 500 units, 500 condo units that are supposed to be fully bought and loaded and occupied on X date, but all of a sudden you're 2 months late or 3 months late in the delivery of that project, the carrying cost for that developer from an interest rate on the $100 million loan they took to build that building, it could take them out of business if they're 2 or 3 months late. That's how expensive it is to do that. So schedule means everything. Credibility means everything. Bringing your project in as a real estate developer on time and delivering the payback to your financial investors that you promised them when you signed up is everything. They're not going to come back to you for that second project if you didn't deliver the return that they expected on the first one. So schedule means everything. So 3D BIM has now evolved into 4D. And that layers schedule in on top of that design. So if you're managing a construction project and you want to understand, hey, what is the flow of goods, right? It's a very complex, tight job site with tons of material coming in, and you've got hundreds of trades that need to be sequenced and worked effectively and efficiently. So you can modify your schedule and you can see in real time what is the flow of those goods, how can I optimize my schedule, how can I not only meet the schedule, but now how can I beat the schedule that the business case was based on in order to be able to return an even greater return on investment for not only yourselves, but for the lenders that provided you that money. So schedule means everything, and the technology that's being used to improve on building schedules is there. 5D BIM is also there. That layers the money and optimizes cash flow on construction projects for all parties involved, not only the owner, but the developer, the contractor, the subcontractor. So there's many other emerging trends here. So if you can think of prefabricated or modular construction is a massive investment area right now. There's a lot of private equity money going into this area because you can imagine, is it more efficient to build the majority of a building in a factory, deliver it to a site and tilt it up, versus actually constructing that on a job site in an uncontrolled environment. So when you look at prefabricated steel, compressed timber buildings, and a lot of the innovation going on there with the strength that's available, and you can build these in modular fashion in factories. So the whole nature of construction is changing. It's really exciting if you're in that business, because all of these solutions at the end of the day allow us to build more effectively, more efficiently, and make less of an impact on the earth as we're building these buildings that we need. And then I'd say the third piece that we'll talk about the most today is smart building management. So this ecosystem that Jim referenced, and that I'm sure many others will today, so this proliferation of mobile technology, cloud computing, sensors and the available data through sensors, the aggregation of big data, the analytics that go into that big data, and then the applications that come out of that analysis that deliver greater value to us as people is taking off. And certainly in buildings, it is definitely taking off. We've invested heavily. We're working to fully connect all 1 million elevators and escalators that we have in our service portfolio to the Internet of Things, and we call it 24/7 connected services. So we've partnered with IBM Watson, and they are the engine, and we provide some algorithms, and it's really changing the way that we deliver value to our building owners and facility managers. So what do you care about if you own a building, right? You want to make sure if you're leasing it that it's fully leased. But you've invested a lot of money, $100 million to build this building. How do you know that those systems are operating the way that they should, that you're getting the life cycle value out of that investment that you've made? How do you know that the service companies that you have, that there's a good, strong partnership there and there's full transparency around what's happening with those systems? There's no way one building owner can be an expert in every single system. The technology's moving too fast, whether it's HVAC or lighting or elevators or escalators, or there's just a lot going on. So full transparency and being that trusted advisor with our clients is incredibly important, allowing them to sleep well at night. So let's take a look at this new emerging ecosystem. There's a short video here that our wonderful people in marketing have put together, and you can get a feel for what I'm talking about in a little more detail.
It's a signal sent from a sensor in an elevator. Another signal from another sensor, sent every other second. It's not just a signal. It's the beginning of a new era, of elevators becoming intelligent. An elevator used to be a silent box on a rope, and now it communicates, and we can listen and uncover things we've never known before. Make intelligent decisions. Know what matters from millions of different signals and give meaning.
Landed 11 millimeters high.
Just once too often, I'll alert a technician.
For us, it means that we can predict and act, fix before breakage, tailor the perfect maintenance to an individual elevator. For you, it means improved safety, full transparency, and ease of mind, because if something would happen, we'd already know. Intelligent services for elevators and escalators are here.
Okay, so very nice video that was done, but there's, at the end of the day, what matters for our clients when it comes to the utilization of this technology is transparency, uptime of their equipment, and then the life cycle value. Can we extend the life cycle of the asset that they own? And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. In the utilization, we have sensors that we deploy in hoistways. We have our own embedded controllers, and they're literally just sending reams of data every second, every 2 seconds, up into the cloud. It goes into IBM Watson. We have our algorithms there, and the ability for us to move from reactive to proactive to predictive service is really extraordinary. If you're a nerd in the real estate industry like I am, this is some amazing things that are occurring, and it's really transformed the conversations that building owners are having with their tenants and that we're having with the building owners. So very cool stuff. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on this slide, but it gives you an idea of the level of depth and technology of this ecosystem to be able to bring all of this disparate data together. So KONE is, I think, wisely selected very strong global companies because we are a global company ourselves. So we partner with IBM Watson, Salesforce.com. We run a lot of our operations on Salesforce from not only the sales perspective, but we're also tying that now into our service delivery. SAP, you can imagine the number of different building management systems, the number of security access control systems and manufacturers and makes and models that we technically need to be able to work together with them to integrate that all to make it seamless, ultimately from the tenant of a building's perspective. And it can be really complex, but the trick here is to take the complex and make it simple for your client. We all have this expectation of convenience and simplicity. We live our lives off of these phones, and the expectation around having information that's easily digestible, usable, and available has done nothing but go up. And it's the same thing now in every single industry on earth. So if you focus up onto the top right-hand corner of this, this is our portal. There's an app for it, but then also our customers can go online. They can see at any point in time what's happening with their assets, whether they're working, whether they're not, what the maintenance history has been, if there's any service needs that have been created through the Watson platform. So really extraordinary stuff. And it's really simple. I talked most about how it works. It keeps a constant eye, it sends it in, it gets analyzed, and we can create different types of service needs. So there just may be what I would call a normal service need. One that, okay, the technician has a regularly scheduled visit. He's going to be out there next month. We know that because we have our service plans locked down. So he can take care of that issue on his next visit out there that following month. Then you can have an immediate service need based upon the analytics. Hey, this isn't going to be able to wait. That unit will go down in the next 4 weeks, so you need to be out there within the next 10 days. So that's a more immediate service need that gets created. And then you can have an urgent service need based upon our knowledge. Hey, get in your truck. Here's where you need to go. And the beautiful thing about this is it takes a lot of the waste out of the system in terms of diagnostics. So imagine you're a technician, very smart mechanically, electrically. They get in their truck, they have a call out from a client, they go in. Could be a 40-story building. Where do you start, right? How do you identify what's going on with that system? So there's some root cause analysis and some diagnostics which typically would have had to occur. And then do they have the right part with them historically? Okay, they may have diagnosed the problem, but they may not have that right part with them. So now they've got to go back to the shop or maybe order that part to be able to do it. The use of this predictive analytics not only allows us to see problems as before they happen, but it also allows us to prepare that technician for that job site visit. So the ultimate win for our customers and for us is, can we get the right technician to the right place with the right part at the right time? And the first fix rate goes up. As a result, the availability of that equipment goes up and the life cycle of that equipment is extended. So that's some of what we're doing, and we're constantly learning. It hasn't been a clean journey for us, right? When you're experimenting and innovating and you're going out to the field and you're working with wireless gateways in all kinds of situations, and hoistways and machine rooms and parking garages, and there's lots of things that need to work in order for this system to work. But if you're not out in front eating it up and learning and doing, then somebody else is going to be doing that work, and you are going to fall behind. So we take great pride in being an innovator in our industry, and we clearly have taken the lead here. Some case studies. So there are thousands of customers that have 24/7 connected services deployed into their operations. And customers typically vote with their pocketbooks, with their checkbooks. So are they willing to pay for the value that this service provides or not? And they are paying for this service because they do see the value in it. It's been demonstrated to them. Moscone Center, fantastic KONE customer, one of the largest venues in the United States. It's about 2 million square feet of convention space, and they flow a lot of people into and out of that facility, as you can imagine. We've been their service partner for a number of years, and we recently modernized all 66 elevators and escalators that they have in that facility. And they also did some expansions, and so there was some new construction work. It was a very complex project. But with that, they also took the decision to purchase the 24/7 connected services. And there's not a greater fan in the world for this type of technology than Moscone. If you can imagine, you have a very intense conference. Not that this one isn't intense, Andrea, but some of these conferences get huge, right? There's literally moving thousands of people and stands that need to be set up and exhibition stands that need to be. So you've got goods, people, that equipment has to work. It is like brand recognition 101 for a convention center. Do the elevators and the escalators work in that place? Because every single attendee and vendor has to use them in order for that show to be successful. San Diego Convention Center, another great customer of ours. Moscone, those are intense schedules. They're tightly scheduled, and their assets need to work, and they need to know that the assets are being taken care of. So great advocate there. I'm getting close to the end here, but I thought this was another interesting one, because I met a gentleman last night here he is, sitting right here, into robotics. And so we had a nice discussion on how robotics is now coming into play in all kinds of different fields. So EMC2 is a hotel in Chicago that we partner with, and they were looking to differentiate themselves, and so they deployed robots into this hotel in Chicago to deliver a unique experience for their guests. So if you can imagine, hotels, very competitive business, they're constantly trying to differentiate themselves. So we partnered together with them, and we have an exclusive partnership with Sabioki, who's a robotics manufacturer. And so imagine that you're in your hotel room, like all of us were last night here, or most of us were. You need to order some room service. And so typically what you would do is you're calling, room service, you're looking at the menu, you place your order, and they ask you a couple other questions, and then usually 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes go by, and there's a knock at your door, and there's somebody there with a nice tray. Here, because of the layout of the place, it was a nice gentleman in a golf cart pulling up with a bag of food that he handed me. So that's typically how it works. At EMC2, you order it right off of the app on the tablet that's in the room. You click what you want to eat. Very simple, very straightforward, and then it's delivered literally by a robot that comes up to your door, knocks on the door, and delivers the food to you. So, imagine you're there with your family. I mean, of course, everybody's ordering room service in this hotel right now because they want to see the robot show up. So, how long that wow factor will last, I don't really know. But if you think about the technology required just to execute that, it's incredibly impressive. So that robot starts in the kitchen, gets loaded with the food, and it's enclosed inside the robot from a hygienic standpoint, so there's benefits there. It needs to find its way from that kitchen to the elevator. It needs to communicate with that elevator. Doors need to open. It needs to know what floor that robot's going to. It needs to get to that floor, and then the robot needs to get off of the elevator and go down the hallway and find the right room, knock on the door. So who knows? The sky's the limit with where a lot of this technology is going, but the applications, we got to keep it focused on people, the value it delivers to society, the value it delivers to us, and that's where the difference will be made, and those will be the applications that at the end of the day stand the test of time. In these kinds of scenarios. That was one guest who decided to do a selfie with the robot that delivered their food. Yeah, so to close, it's really about getting smarter equipment, utilizing the data to move from reactive to proactive to predictive services. We are always on, 24/7, always watching. Watson's always there, KONE's always there. So peace of mind, but then transparency, building truly trust-based relationships with our customers and thus they with their customers around what's happening with that building, what's happening with the assets. And that's it. So I appreciate all of your time and thank you for listening.